All right, we ready to go? All right, well, good evening, District 2, and to all the others who are turned in tonight. If you haven't been to one of these before, under the city charter, we do a citywide meeting with the mayor, and with me are pretty much all the department heads. So whatever issue you have, hopefully the person in charge is in the room. And then we go district by district, and today we're talking to the folks from District 2. And so I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes. I'm going to bring up Brad Dick from the General Services Department to do a short presentation. And then until 8:30, we are going to take your questions one after another, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them. So I'm going to start by talking about what you would expect me to talk about, and that's COVID. And pretty much for the last 8 weeks, we have had nothing but bad news in this state and in this city. It's been a straight line up on infections and hospitalizations. Last 48 hours, we're starting to see a leveling. Now, you don't get excited in 48 hours. I want to see it for 3 or 4 more days, but this is the first time we've seen it. Unfortunately, the leveling's way too high. We got more than 400 people in the hospital, but it does appear the people of Detroit are starting to act with social distancing and masking to curb this thing. The more encouraging news is the state just posted the vaccinations and indicated another 9,000 Detroiters have been vaccinated. We're approaching 27%. And while that is still behind most of the state, it looks like this week may be our highest one-week vaccination record since we have started. And so these are very encouraging. If you look back at what happened a year ago, it was the last 2 weeks in April that the city of Detroit broke the back of the first COVID wave. We did it with our masking and our distancing. We got the rates way down in May, and basically they stayed low for 6 months. We're approaching that last 2 week in April period again. All we can do is, if we could just for the next couple of weeks, really commit to the social distancing and the masking. And tomorrow, we've got clinics. It's too late to make an appointment, but if you're a Detroit resident, 16 or older, we'll take you tomorrow as a walk-in. No appointment. Just walk in, show up, and Denise Fair and Iris Taylor and the team we'll get you your Pfizer or Moderna shot. Tomorrow, we are at the Northwest Activity Center on the west side on Meyer. We're at East English Village High School on the east side. The longtime Detroiters will probably know it better as the old Finney High School site. And at the TCF Center downtown, we have a walk-in. If you park on the roof, we have a walk-in. And so if you have somebody in your life that you believe needs a vaccine and you don't have an appointment, don't worry about it. Walk in tomorrow at Northwest Activity Center at TCF or at East English Village. Saturday, we're going to be at Fellowship Chapel on West Outer Drive. We're going to be at 2nd Ebenezer on DeQuinder on the east side, and we will be at Greater Grace on the far west side. If you don't have an appointment, walk in there. Any one of those churches on Saturday. Walk in and we will take you and get your shot. We have got to open up these vaccines. We need to make it easier, and we're going to do that. And next week we'll have more and more discussions about walk-in sites and drive-up sites without appointments that over the next couple of weeks we are going to roll out in every corner of this city. And so I'll give you a better report next week when we've seen more than 2 or 3 days, but there does appear to be a glimmer of hope, and I hope that we can break this third and last wave and be done with this thing, get this city back open. Because what I really want to do is go back to talk about what I love to talk about, which is our neighborhoods. And I'm very excited about the fact the people of this city overwhelmingly supported Proposal N. We are now in the neighborhoods doing the first of the 1,300 demolitions. We are securing the houses for renovation that we promised to, and I don't know if you saw the announcement today, but Dan Gilbert and his foundation just committed another $5 million to rehab vacant land bank houses, which is going to speed up the renovation of vacant houses in our neighborhoods. Before COVID hit a year ago, when I was still doing a meeting every week in a gracious person's living room or basement or backyard, in every corner of this city, every single neighborhood meeting, two issues came up. One was the speed humps, which seemed like every neighborhood wanted them, and I think, as you know by now, we have 4,500 going in this summer. But the second issue that comes up in every corner of the city is the alleys. They had not been cleaned in decades. I think most of you know that when the city stopped running the garbage trucks down the alleys and moved them out to the street, that the alleys were turned back to the adjoining neighbors. In some neighborhoods, they knew that, and they pushed their fences together. Some neighborhoods, you still enter your garage from that alley. Some neighborhoods act like the alleys were never vacated, and for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they've collected trash. And so with the support of Roy McAllister and the City Council, we have embarked on a major effort to clean alleys, but we are doing it in partnership with block clubs. If you have a block club or a neighborhood association, and you want to partner with us to have the city bring in the heavy equipment and clean out the alley, we have a way to do it. And so we're going to start tonight with a short presentation from Brad Dick, the head of the General Services Department. He is the man in charge of cleaning the alleys, and he's going to show you, if your block is not already on the alley list, how you go about getting on it and the progress with making. With that, I'll turn it over to Brad.
Good evening, District 2. My name is Brad Dick, and I'm the Director for General Services Department. I have the distinct pleasure of being in charge of cleaning out 7,000 alleys throughout the city the next few years, with a huge team of people, as you can imagine. First off, the alley cleanup. I'd like to show you the picture here of the gentleman kneeling. This is Corey Beatty. He is our communications person. He works with the folks in the neighborhoods and to help get you on the plan for us to get your alley cleaned up. And Corey has a little drone here he uses that the team flies down the alley to take a look at it to see what kind of equipment we need to clean before we do it. And the kids are always fascinated when we go through that process. So 50% of our workforce in the alley program are returning citizens. We're very proud of that fact. Block clubs must first commit to maintaining the alley after we've cleaned it up. Before we clean it, but then commit to doing it afterwards. So far, we've had 500 block clubs sign up already through the Department of Neighborhoods. And our goal this year is 2,000 alleys cleaned in 2021. And today we just went over 900. Next slide. I'm sorry, that's me. Alleys cleared. Last year we did 505 alleys. We removed over 7,000 tons of debris. That's 1,131 trips to the dump. Now, these aren't little pickup trucks. These are big, huge trucks that kind of like pick up the trash in front of your house. We took out 4,426 tires, and we removed trees, like the weed trees, 23,282 weed trees, and some more larger trees as well, too. We also surveyed another 1,368 alleys. We're off to a good start in 2021. That's a typo. That's actually 401 alleys cleared so far to date. Again, with 4,000 tons of debris removed, dump trips, tires removed. Again, another 2,500 tires, and then another 21,000 trees. I think it's pretty amazing. We're approaching nearly 50,000 trees removed. And another 786 surveys completed. There's room for you to join next. Before and after pick. I think this will look probably familiar to many of you, what alleys do look like. And after we clean them, that's what they look like afterwards. Again, before and after. Picture of our guys out there, and also the equipment we use to remove the debris with. You'd be surprised, or maybe not surprised, how many boats there are in alleys. Also before picture and an after picture. And this is the kind of equipment that we use to remove the debris with. and also our team. Again, we're very proud of the fact that of the 40-some folks working on the alley cleanup program, over half of them are returning citizens. This is a good chance for them to get back into the workforce after they've done their service. Again, another before and after picture. Now, you probably ask, okay, after the alley's clean, what next? Starting this spring, we're working to install alley gates. These gates are built inside the city of Detroit with, again, returning citizens that are doing this work to make a gate to help protect the alley and keep vehicles out of there. It'll be a choice with the neighbors how the gate's managed and handled. And but we think it's also just a great deterrent to illegal dumping folks to not want to bother with your alley. Employment opportunities, again, as I've stated, you can go onto the website and look, but we are hiring people right now. We have 20 more vacancies in the alley program, and we encourage you to please go on to the website and apply. Also, in addition to hiring for the alley crews, we're also hiring for ground maintenance workers at the parks this year. We have vacancies. We're having a hiring fair for alleys and the park system on Saturday, May 8th at Davison Yard at 8221 Davison. So please go on to the city website. There's more information there, and we encourage you to come out and join us for the job fair. And for alleys, here's the process to sign up. Go to detroitmi.gov/neighborhoods or call 313-402-4174. Okay, thank you.
All right, Brad, I think this is yours. All right. And so we're going to get through 2,000 alleys this year. We have room for reservations. On the gate aspect of it, that's a decision you make as a block club. So if you want gates at the end of your alleys when it's cleaned up, we'll put them in. If you don't want them, we won't put them in. If you want them and you say, I want my block club president and the person at the house at the end of the alley to have keys, you'll make that decision. But we put control of the gate, the decision whether to have one and the gate itself with the neighbors. It's your house. The alleys are actually your property, and you can make the decision how we handle it. All right, so now what we are going to do is get through questions, whatever your issue is. I'll try to answer them, or somebody here will answer them. I would ask that you allow the District 2 residents to have a period of time to ask their questions first. This is the day they've been waiting for to ask things that are going on in their particular area. A couple of weeks ago, we had the District 1 residents, and I think we ran over till about 8:45, and I still heard from a number of angry District 1 residents who never got through, and a lot of the time was eaten up by true groups arguing over a neighborhood issue that wasn't having anything to do with District 1. And so the night before last, I had an extra Zoom session with District 1 members who were excluded, but that really isn't right. This is District 2's night. It's their opportunity, so please be courteous. If you're not from District 2, I'd say for the next 45 minutes, please leave your hand down and let the folks in the neighborhood get the chance. So to raise your hand, if you're on a computer, you click the raise hand icon. If you're a telephone user, you press *9. When you are asked, tell us your name and what neighborhood you live in, whether it's University District, Pilgrim Village, whatever your neighborhood is, tell us the neighborhood, and you will have 1 minute, because we're going to try to get through everybody. So after 1 minute, you're going to be muted. So please ask your question succinctly, and either I or a department head will do our best to answer it. And with that, we'll get started. Who's up first?
All right, the first caller is Barbara B. Barbara, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Barbara B., introduce yourself and tell us where you live.
Okay, my name is Barbara Bearfield, and I live in Palmer Woods, and I've lived in the Palmer Park area for most of my adult life.
Good
So
evening.
first, I just want to say congratulations on some of the incredible work the city's done to get vaccines in people's arms accessing voting this past year has been incredible, the increase in voting access and the work in Palmer Park. I really appreciate that. So now here comes my more critical question. I understand that there will be a baseline evaluation of the air quality in the area of the state fairgrounds and the new Amazon plant. How will the potential toxicity of the air be monitored ongoing once it is impacted by hundreds of Amazon diesel-powered trucks running there 24/7? And what will be done if the tests show that the air quality has the potential to increase illness,
15
cancer,
seconds.
asthma, and other illnesses to the neighborhoods and to the workers?
Okay, Barbara, I was hoping you were going to express your opinion on whether you wanted the band shell in Palmer Park. But is somebody here who's knowledgeable on the standard on the air quality? Dave Bell is going to be here, but I would start with this, and Barbara, you've been an enormous advocate for that area forever, and I know you'll always be. But when you think about the traffic volume on Woodward and on 8 Mile, the idea that there'll be a significant incremental increase from this, I don't think is scientifically going to be borne out. But in case I'm wrong, we are going to monitor, and Dave Bell is going to explain exactly how we're going to do it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Barbara. We are going to, like you said, create a baseline for this project, and I will get you more details. We're going to get your name and number, and we'll get you more details as to exactly how we're going to continue to monitor it. But like the mayor said, we do not see a significant increase in hazards to the people in the surrounding community. It's a warehouse. That's pretty much all it is. But we will get that information to you.
All right, who's next?
Barbara, you'll be moved over into our information room.
Oh, Barbara, before I lose you, did I lose her? Okay. I really did want to know what she thought about the band shell. Okay.
Next caller we have is Frank H.
Okay.
Frank H., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan. Good to see you again. I wanted to follow up on Ms. Barefield's question because actually I don't feel it was answered. Your own traffic studies on the website, the city's website, indicate that at peak hour, there are going to be over 500 diesel-powered 18-wheelers going in and out of the fairground site. And that is going to be one of the most dangerous forms of pollution in regards to the health of the community surrounding the fairgrounds. And I would think that Amazon is quite aware of what these pollution impacts will be, and we would be looking for how these will be, how the neighborhoods will be safeguarded from all that diesel
15
pollution
seconds.
and the particulate matter from those trucks.
So we are going to have a monitor in place from the health department, and we're going to have readings, and we're going to get you a specific answer. I was not ready for the environmental health monitor question, but we're going to get you and Barbara that answer tomorrow. I don't know what the traffic counts are on 8 Mile and Woodward in a given day. It's probably 75,000 plus on each. So when you talk about 500, you have to talk about the area that you are operating in. But we're going to get you a very specific answer on how the monitoring is going to be conducted.
Frank, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next, we have Karen. Karen, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Yes, my name is Karen, and I am a resident of District 2. I live in the Bagley area.
Good evening.
And first thing is, we've had, like special pickup stuff on the berm up and down our block, and it's still there. They didn't pick it up during the scheduled time. Also, I've had one other question about the recycling Gidra. So that's still up and running, and the incinerator shut down and the generator shut down. So I'm just not sure exactly what functions are going on there. One last item is the property 19958 Livernois. And that's been on the agenda a couple times, once this week, once last week. And Mr. Alvin Mitchell said they're giving it to the family for $15,000. But of course, we know probate court, that should go through probate. The
Hang on,
city has no right
I'm
or
trying to-
authority to give it to anyone.
So take me through that. I'm trying to visualize which property that is. What is it, 19958? What is it? Okay, Kim, do you know the answer to this? The question was something about somebody transferring the property? Okay, we're going to let Kim Tandy, who clearly is familiar with this property, come up and answer that.
So good evening. So we are working with the property owner. The owner actually is the daughter of a previous owner, and so we're selling her property back to her. She had lost the property during the time that her mother had passed, and so we are working with her to sell the property back to her. But it's her family business, and that's what we're working with, to actually sell the property back to her, the daughter of the owner.
Is she operating the business there now?
She is currently operating. It is open. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like my team is handling that very well. The question about the berm, did we lose her? So where exactly is the pickup on the berm not being done?
Yeah, specifically right off between McNichols and Curtis on Santa Barbara and any street in this specific area, and also Ms.
Okay,
Tandy,
hang on, I want to address.
probate issue, Mayor.
Okay,
There's a probate issue.
I want to address that. So what is sitting in the berm?
What's not sitting in the berm would be easier, Mayor.
Okay, so if I were to drive down there right now, what would I see?
You're not far, drive by.
Okay, all right, I guess we'll go to the next caller. Who's next?
Next caller we have is Lori Ann S. Lori Ann, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
How are
I'm
you?
I'm Lori Ann Sabatini. I live in the Martin Park area,
Okay,
and I happen to also work for Councilmember McAllister.
okay,
There is a resident. First, I want to say thank you for saving the band shell. I hope it comes to Palmer Park. I'm excited at that being an option. Very excited as a neighboring community. And my questions is really relative to the COVID-19 vaccines. If we have to go and get another shot, those of us who have the 2 vaccines and we went through TCF or Ford Field or another city related site, would we get an email and or a text for our next appointment if that is what has to happen? Do you know?
yes, so you will be exactly, if it was, did you get Pfizer or Moderna?
I got Moderna.
Okay, so you will have an appointment exactly 4 weeks after your first shot at the same location. And I understand you will get a reminder text on your phone, but you can just write it down. If you got, you know what day you got it, 4 weeks later, same day, same time. If you need to change it, we can change it, but otherwise that's when you'll be scheduled.
With all due respect, that's not what I mean. I mean, the last couple of days, national news has said that we may need a booster shot
Oh, okay.
6 months from now.
So here's what the booster shot conversation is this. You know how you get a flu shot every year? Because what happens is the flu strains change. They evolve from year to year, which is why you need a different flu shot every year. What Pfizer was saying today is that next winter, you will probably need a booster a year later because we're seeing the COVID strains start to develop variants. And so they were predicting that a year from now, nobody knows for sure yet, they know 6 months later their vaccines are still effective, but they're predicting a year from now that you'll need one. And we only heard that today, but my guess is that we will reach back out to you in another year, and we will figure out how to schedule that. So that wasn't an unexpected announcement. My guess is that we will be getting, and who knows, it may be mixed with the regular flu shot. Ultimately, you know, I talk about stuff more than anybody wants to hear, but in 2009, when there was the H1N1 pandemic, which was much milder, what was called swine flu, over time they simply put the H1N1 vaccine in with the other flu vaccines, and you get them every year. So that's the way it tends to evolve over time. But I wouldn't worry about the booster. There'll be plenty of time to get that a year from now.
Next, we have Keenan B. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I also wanted to personally thank Ms. Kim Tandy, who reached out to me personally to let me know that she had received information regarding my concern over a fence that was left after a house was torn down, and she really went through to explain how it was the separate parcel, but still looking into how we can get this random fence removed.
So is the fence standing or laying?
Standing and laying. It's been hit over years, and
Is there a reason we
I'm
can't
third
get
generation Detroiter here. Yes, sir.
Brad, do you think you could get this fence? Okay, if you give us your address offline, Brad Dick's going to come out and get that fence.
Keenan, you'll be moved over to our information room.
Okay. All right, who's next?
Next callers we have is Bernadette. Bernadette, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
I just have a quick question. A couple of weeks ago, the crew was out cleaning up the alleys in the College Core area. I stay on Stopo in College Core. And they had not cleaned the alley behind my house. So I did talk to Corey, who was very nice and helpful, excellent customer service. Well, he told me that because the alley behind my house wasn't that bad, that there would be a walking crew that would come and do my alley, as well as the alley between Puritan and Florence. So my question is, I was wondering, when will the second crew come through and do the spots that weren't, that didn't have the heavy duty, garbage and stuff in the alleys?
I'm going to turn it over to our alley director.
Yeah, I caught between, between Puritan and Florence. What was the other area, ma'am? She's out still. Ma'am? Well, if anybody else caught that, I can check and give her a call.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here. Between the other street was between Stokel, between Florence and Grove.
Okay, I'll have to talk to Corey tomorrow. I don't have the schedule with me.
Okay.
But well, if you can, Kim can probably get your phone number. She'll give it to me, and we'll give you a call tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Stokel
Sounds
and Grove.
good. Thank you.
Got it. Thanks.
Bernadette, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Renard. Renard, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Okay, good evening. Mayor, can you hear me?
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Renard. I am calling from District 2, although I grew up in District 1 as well, and I am a bus rider. I love using the DDOT system. It's my primary way I get around, and I hope that will be the case continuing, because we have a once-in-a-lifetime generation with this money that's coming in from Congress due to the Democratic leadership in Congress and also our President, Biden. I want to thank the leadership for this additional funding. And I wanted to know, Mayor, is there going to be an opportunity for bus riders, families, and individuals in the city to sit with the department, the Regional Transit Authority of Southeast Michigan, RTA, and SMART, to express our ideas and plans for what we would like the department to invest this American Rescue Plan money? I understand it will be for operation costs, which the federal government rarely does. But Mayor, are you putting together hearings? Is it the
So hey, I don't want to lose him. So you're asking a really good question. So the answer is yes. In May, we're going to start conversations, but we have to be clear on this American Rescue Plan money. And I was in Washington, D.C. I had a hand in writing the formula, and we're going to have a chance. But it is one-time money. It has to be spent over the next 2 or 3 years, and then it is gone. And so we have to spend it on things that are one-time expenses. We can't hire 100 new bus drivers and then lay them off in 2 years when the money runs out. And so if you have ideas on scheduling systems, on new equipment, on terminal improvements, on ticket sales methods, on more Wi-Fi on the buses, things that are one-time investments, those are the kinds of things that we're going to talk about. But we are in May going to have a community conversation, because I want to see us put money into the buses. I want to see us put money into the neighborhoods. I want to see us put money into streetscapes. Potentially, we could put money into recreation centers and parks. We can invest money in training our folks and upgrading their skills. There are a number of things we can do. We're going to have that conversation as a community. In May, the first money comes in May, and we're still waiting for the final federal guidelines, but I think we're getting a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. And so you will absolutely have a voice, but I want you thinking in terms of what would be one-time expenditures that would make the bus system better. Michael Oglesby is going to be running those, and I know he's going to want your ideas. All right, thank you for that question.
Next caller we have is Lisa M. Lisa, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Lisa, introduce yourself and tell us what neighborhood you're in.
Good evening, Mayor. I am Lisa Mitchell. I am on Pinehurst Street, just near 7 Mile and Myers. It's a wonderful block. I've been over on this block for over 20 years now, and I have been a lifetime resident of Detroit. I have a couple of things. Thank you. I'm excited about the alley cleanups. And I want you to know that we have had so much vacant parking on our block that has been recently renovated, and it's just really coming together over here. I have some concerns though, the speed bumps. I need to know the speed bumps. How can we get updates, like if we submit the form for speed bumps? And my other issues are, and I don't know if you've noticed, but since the pandemic, reckless driving has, in the city of Detroit, I have never seen anything like this. The number of lights that are being run on 7 Mile, 8 Mile, just in the neighborhood, the number of people who are they driving like they're on a video game, like it's Mario Karts and these 2,000-pound, ton cars, and I'm so scared. And the litter, since the pandemic, I've noticed like a major increase in litter in the neighborhood. If you come up off the Lodge Freeway at 7 Mile, it is horrendous. If they weren't doing they did the construction over there this week, and it looked like it cleaned up just a little bit, but it is horrible, and I need to know, what are we doing about the litter and the reckless driving?
Okay, so I agree with everything you said. So let's start with the litter, and we're going to have major cleanup this spring and summer, and we're going to deal with it. I don't know what how we deal with the fact people keep littering, but we are going to dramatically increase the cleanup. On the reckless driving, I don't know if you saw the story in last night or this morning's TV, but Chief Craig has hit on a strategy that I think is going to be successful, because the problem we have had is you got people, you be driving on the freeway, they fly by you at 100 miles an hour. You drive down 7 Mile and they'll shoot by you at 60 miles an hour. But if a police car chases them, they just run away, and we have a policy in this city that the police department does not engage in high-speed chases unless it's a serious felony, because the risk of tragedy to innocent people is so high. What Chief Craig has started doing in the last month, we've already seen great results, is we're putting helicopters in the sky, and they are spotting these speeders, and they are waiting till they pull over. We had one last night where we seized a Dodge Charger and made 2 arrests. The guy didn't even know the helicopter was following him until he parked the car. So we are not going to tolerate this reckless driving. We'll have announcements, I think, in the next week or 2 about partnerships with the state to even enhance the helicopter surveillance. But we are going to deal with reckless drivers from the sky and waiting for them to stop and seizing the cars instead of engaging in high-speed chases. I want to go back to your first question on the speed humps, and Ron Brundage, who's in charge of the speed humps, is going to answer the question on how you know when we're coming.
Good evening. I'm Ron Brundage, Director of DPW. We actually started our speed hump installations this week, and you can actually go to the city's website, detroitmi.gov, and go to the Department of Public Works and click on the link. We actually have a listing of all of the speed humps by individual blocks where we're going to be installing speed humps this year, and they're separated by city council districts. So you can go to the city's website, click on the Department of Public Works, and then click on the link for District 2, and you'll see a comprehensive list of all of the blocks where we're going to be installing speed humps this year. In District 2, it's actually about 500 individual residential blocks that we'll be installing speed humps. So that can be the first step, so you can determine whether or not your block was selected for this year's program. And we're going to be giving constant updates as we complete areas throughout the city. We'll be constantly updating, indicating which city council district we're working in, what the next district is, so you can have a really good idea in terms of when we're going to be getting to your respective area and your respective neighborhood.
All right, who's next?
Lisa, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next, we have Gaston N. Gaston, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, this is Gaston Nash. I live in Fitzgerald.
Good evening.
Good evening. I had a question about sidewalks. At the end of last year, a crew came on our street and fixed up parts of the sidewalk, but there were some parts that are cracked that were still left the way they were. I was just trying to figure out the process for figuring out which sidewalks to do.
Ron, is that you or is that Donald? Ron Brundage says it's him, so we're going to move his chair closer to the front of the room. But he's
Can
going
I
to
ask
give you an answer.
one more question?
You sure can. You can ask it while he walks up. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and then I had a question on dumping. It's been multiple times I've seen where I've actually seen people dump, and I know people are dumping on certain properties. And actually today somebody came by in a U-Haul van and dumped a van full of leaves in the middle of the street. I followed them back to the U-Haul place and took a picture of the license plate, but I didn't see the video, or I didn't get a actual video of them doing it.
Well, the picture.
So can I do anything or no?
The answer is absolutely. I mean, I don't want anybody to put their safety at risk, but do you have the Improved Detroit app?
Yeah, I do.
Actually a place, and I want to get your information and have DPD give you a call, but you can actually take that picture of that driver, of that license plate, put it on the Improved Detroit app. It will go right to the Detroit Police Department, and Lieutenant McKay will start an investigation. DPD follows up on every single citizen who takes the picture of the license plate, gives us the detail of the dumping, and I don't know how many vehicles we have seized of dumpers. So you might have to go to court at one time to back up what you saw, but it's going to be individuals like you who care about your neighborhood that turn the tide. But I don't want you to have to even do that. I want to get your information today, and we're going to have DPD give you a call. But thank you for that commitment. Your neighborhood has got so much potential. How long have you lived there?
About 10 years now.
Okay, so you know your neighbor's got enormous potential, and it's going to be neighbors like you that are the reason why Fitzgerald is going to succeed. So let me bring Ron back up and a question about the broken sidewalks. He's going to get them fixed for you.
I'd just like to first start out by saying generally the replacement of damaged sidewalk is the responsibility of the property owner. However, if the sidewalk is damaged by a city tree located between the sidewalk and the street.
I think they're saying we replace the sidewalk as part of the Fitzgerald program.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that we came out and some sidewalk was replaced, but not all of it. In front of, maybe I misunderstood the question. Can you repeat the question, sir?
Yeah, so I think you had it right. So a crew came out and they fixed certain parts of the sidewalk. I don't know the rhyme or reason for which parts of the sidewalk they fixed, but then they left part of the sidewalk that was cracked. Parts of the sidewalk that was cracked, they left that the way it was. So what's the rhyme or reason for what they fixed and what they left
Yeah, we'll
unfixed?
come out and take a look at it. I was just going to say that the city is responsible for tree damaged sidewalks. So if we came to a location and there was a combination of tree damaged sidewalk as well as a sidewalk that was just damaged through the normal wear and tear, our inspectors would have just marked the tree damaged sidewalk, and the other would have been the property owner's responsibility. But we'll get your information, and we'll get somebody out tomorrow, and I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
All right, great questions.
Yes,
Who's next?
You'll be moved over to our information room. Thank you. Next, we have William S. William, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Bill Steiner, and I live in the Green Acres neighborhood.
Okay.
And I just have a quick question about yard waste pickup. We've had
Come on
a
up.
warmer spring, and there are a lot of my neighbors who clean up their yards and have had bags in front of their houses since the end of March. On my street, the first scheduled pickup of yard waste is not until April 29th. So some people will have stuff out there for a month already. And I was just wondering, what is the difficulty in coordinating when yard pickup begins, when it ends, with
45.
the actual need for it?
Okay, so this is going to be Ron Brundage's night. I don't know the answer to that, but you and I are about to find out together.
Boy, I love the District 2 community meetings. It reminds me of last year's meeting. Our yard waste program begins next Monday, April 19th, and it'll continue through December 27th. It's a 36-week program whereby our contractors are responsible for picking up on your biweekly bulk day any bagged yard waste or bundled tree or bushes. You know, one of the challenges, our contract requires them to provide this service for 36 weeks. So we try to start it early enough or late enough whereby when that 36-week period ends, we still have ample time to pick up leaves that we know are going to fall in late November as well into the month of December. So our reasons for starting our program in the middle of April is so that we can have ample time at the beginning of the spring season, but also looking forward to the end of the year when we know there's going to be a high volume of leaves that are going to be set out at the end of the year. So I think one of the things that, and I am aware of all of the bags of yard waste that have already been set out at curbside before our program begins next week. And I think what that says to us is that we really need to do a little better job of communicating that information so that all of the residents know exactly when our program begins. But that's the reason why we started in mid-April, so we can also continue through the end of December.
Amazing. I'm in my 8th year as mayor, and I still learn something every day. All right.
Bill, you'll be moved over to our information room.
Okay.
Next
Who's
caller we
next?
have is Valerie B. Valerie, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Valerie.
Hi, this is Valerie. I don't know if you can hear me.
We
My
hear you
screen
just
has
fine.
frozen, so I'm going to go ahead and speak. I'm calling about the curb. There's a curb right at 7 Mile at the intersection where you would go to turn south on Pontchartrain that has been missing. The curb was broken and it's gone. And every time somebody makes a turn there, they ride over the dirt and there's a big hole that fills up with water. And the city, when they have doing that, some of that kind of work, should go over to that corner. It's in the boulevard part of 7 Mile.
I know what you're talking about. So I'm not going to make Ron get up again. Ron, do we fix the curb? Can you fix the curb at Pontchartrain and 7 Mile?
Yeah, that was actually Wayne County.
You're saying it's Wayne County's curb? Okay, so Ron is going to, so which one is Pontchartrain Wayne County or 7 Mile Wayne County? 7 Miles Wayne County at that point. So Ron is going to reach out to his counterpart at Wayne County DPW and see if we can't get him out and get him to fix that curb.
Okay, can I make one other comment?
Sure can.
I just want to appreciate the work that Kim Tandy does. She's almost like an ombudsman for District 2. And if we have a question or a concern and we get in touch with her, she's always up to date on it. She knows exactly what's going on and she's really helpful. Her meetings are really, really helpful as well. One last thing. Regarding the alley gates, I think those are a great idea. I noticed in the photo that you showed, the property on the left and right had a back fence. If you have a vacant lot with no fencing, a dumper could just ride right across the lot and dump in the alley.
So Brad, what do you do when there's a vacant lot adjacent to the alley and the alley gate won't close it off?
Well, we would try to spray with boulders on the side or something like
Okay.
that, but there's not much we can do.
Okay, so either they wouldn't put a gate in, or they might put large boulders along that vacant lot, which you've seen that we've started to do at parks. Instead of the fences, we've used those boulders to try to keep the cars out of the parks. But that's a conversation that you can have with Corey and the team as you plan out your alley.
Valerie, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Fred B. Fred, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Fred Brown from McDowell Community Council, 7 Mile Myers, 7 Mile, Wyoming area. One of my questions, and the other one will be a comment, is that I had one of my, because I'm the president of our community group, I had one of our other board members call me and referred to a resident whose child goes to school in the 7 Mile, Wyoming area. And that child's school had a positive case at the school. And this resident took her child to, I believe it was a urgent care, who told her she needed an appointment to get her child tested.
45 seconds.
So I don't think that was what should have happened. So I'm trying to find out about resources in case something like that does happen
So
again.
you can always get tested at the City of Detroit. They will ask that you wait 5 days after exposure until the viral load builds. But Denise, how young do we test individuals? 12 and up? How old, do you know how old this child is? 4
I
years
believe
old?
they were younger than 12. Can you still hear me?
I'm just asking a question. I not heard a question about where a 4-year-old gets tested. So the city doesn't test 4-year-olds. Children's Hospital is the only one that tests 4-year-olds. I'm learning again with you. And so if you want to go to Children's Hospital, I'm sure you're going to be required to have an appointment. So it sounds like that's what they're doing. So there was a point at which I could have dealt with that, but Children's Hospital doesn't work for me anymore. But I would say I would encourage them to call the Children's Clinic, get your appointment, and get in. I guess they're the only ones that are testing 4-year-olds. Did you have a second question? Did we mute him? Is he still there? Okay.
I'm still here.
Did you have a second question?
I'm here.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but an appointment at the Children's Clinic is the only option I think that's probably there. Did you have a second question?
A second question was more of a statement.
Okay.
Maybe you can give an answer to that. I remember when you were doing the community meetings, I was at one you were at, and it might bring recollection to you when I say what I'm saying. While I recognize that every community, every street, every block will not get speed ramps, and whichever ones get it, that's great. recognize as well that's not going to stop all speeders, recognize all that. However, one thing I brought up at that meeting we were at that is on a stop sign that is around a block from my home. It was a red reflector that went down the pole of the stop sign. Any deterrence is better than no deterrence, in my opinion. And I was never afforded a follow-up about getting those reflectors on some of the stop signs in the neighborhood.
Ron,
Does
you
that
wanna
ring a
talk-
bell with you, Mr. Mayor?
So Ron, I'll get Ron Brundage to give you an answer on that right now.
Sir, I think I'm going to have to get information and give you a call tomorrow. I'm not really sure of what reflectors specifically you're referring to. Can you give me a little more information?
Sure can. Took a picture of it, showed it to the mayor when he was there. It's a reflector that goes down the pole of the stop sign that goes into the ground. It was a red reflective type reflector that would alert you that you were approaching the stop sign if you were paying attention.
Okay. And I have to apologize for not being prepared to fully respond to that. But give me an opportunity. I don't know if we did a pilot project at that location or not. Obviously, the material that the stop signs are made of themselves are highly reflective. But if we did a pilot program that involves the supports, give me an opportunity to look into that tomorrow morning. And if I can get your information, I'll give you a call.
Kim Tandy has my information.
All right, thank you.
Fred, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Sandra W. Sandra, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening. Sandra, can you unmute yourself?
Next caller we have is Lavish T.W. Lavish, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Mayor? How you doing? This is Lavish T. Williams. I'm from the Fitzgerald community.
Good evening.
Hey, I guess two of my questions were already asked, one by Lisa, the other one by Fred, which was about the speed bumps and the reflector strip or the stop sign, seeing that we have a lot of vehicles nowadays driving through the neighborhoods at an alarming speed. Those questions were asked. My other two questions that I have, one, is there anybody going through the neighborhoods paying attention to the zoning of different businesses that are opening up in these neighborhoods?
Absolutely. Dave Bell in the inspection department makes certain that everything is in compliance with zoning. Is there some?
Okay, and I say that because we have different businesses that has popped up in our neighborhood, and I feel is not fitting for our neighborhood, especially on the corner of my street.
Okay.
Dumpsters. If I'm not mistaken,
15 seconds.
this is a B2 area, and storage of dumpsters will be considered
Dave, why don't you
M1.
talk about dumpsters?
Mr. Williams, are you saying that somebody is storing dumpsters on this property in a B2 zone?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so we're going to take your information and we're going to look into it. They should not be having storage in that zoning district. And if you give us your information, we'll look into it first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that. Then I have another question. It's about the ground controls over there. How do you, let me say this. We have two lots at the end of my block. I'm off Puritan. My neighbors, they have to go over there every summer to cut down the grass. The city, they might come once or twice throughout the course of the whole summer. Who's in charge of keeping the lawns on these vacant lots cut and trimmed down in a timely manner?
So Brad Dick is going to come over and answer this question, or the mayor's got it.
I can answer it for Brad. We are going to cut every vacant lot in this city 5 times this summer. 5 times starting next week. And so if somebody has cut it what the crews do is, we don't worry about who owns the property. If the grass is high, we go through and cut it because it doesn't do any good to leave some private property, overgrown grass there. Your area looks terrible. So they will get every single vacant lot in the city 5 times. Now, if somebody cut it before they got there, they don't have any reason to go over it, but it'll be cut 5 times. This is the most cuts we've done in a year in my memory. So next week, are they starting, where are they starting next week? Do you know, Brad? Okay, so they're going to be starting in District 2 next week. So I don't know exactly what day they're going to get to Puritan, but it'll be relatively soon. Oh, Kim has a schedule. Kim, do you know when they're getting to Puritan? But it'll be relatively soon, and then we'll be there 5 times, and you can count them. Come on, Kim, you know more than I do.
Mr. Williams, and we also have a group that's actually, we got some grant money through the Civic Commons group, which was what we're doing in the Fitzgerald neighborhood. And so we actually will have a little bit more cuts in that Fitzgerald neighborhood because of a grant that was written for that neighborhood. So you'll get those 5 cuts and then some other grooming on those lots in that neighborhood this year. So just wanted to add, make sure.
All right, Mr. Williams, you'll be moved
Mr.
over.
Williams, how do you like what we're doing on McNichols?
Self. Am I unmuted? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming together. I think me being a long life resident of District 2, seeing what it once was and seeing what is coming, I mean, I can't complain about that. I can't complain about that. In the beginning, I was complaining because I thought the focus was simply just downtown, but now seeing that we're bringing up the neighborhoods, I'm being more and more satisfied. I'm more and more satisfied with the growth.
Well, we're going to bring that commercial district, you know what it used to be like on McNichols, and we're already seeing signs of new businesses along with the streetscape. So I'm glad, I should never ask a question I don't know the answer to, but I'm glad you were positive. All right, who's next?
Mr. Williams, you'll be moved over to our information room. The next caller we have is Darnetta B. Darnetta, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My question and concern, I live in the Fitzgerald community. On the corner of Prairie and Florence, one of the cleaning groups, I'm not sure if it was the alley cleaning group or the workforce group, who have cut down a number of trees and left it on the corner of Prairie and Florence. And now people are dumping other trash there.
Wait, they cut the trees down and left the wood there?
Yes, cut the trees down, left the wood there, and now someone has dumped mattresses there, trash,
So it's the corner of Prairie and Florence?
Correct.
Ron, will you get out there tomorrow and take care of that? Ron Brunder is going to take care of it tomorrow. All right.
Ms. Darnetta.
Anything else?
Moved over to our information.
Okay.
Next caller we have is Barbara B. Ms. Barbara, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Mayor, this is Barbara Bearfield again from District 2, Palmer Woods. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you how absolutely thrilled I am with the prospect of having the band shell move to Palmer Park.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
And become a performing arts center for the neighborhoods. And I just wanted to let people know we're really thinking about how we can keep music, art, dance, storytelling, all kinds of wonderful things for families right there in the park that they can come to and enjoy, but also not infringe upon people's ears if they live nearby and don't want to hear loud sounds. So we're working with the city very closely to think about how we can keep the music going into the woods, into the park, and not into people's windows during the warmer months. So I want to thank you very much.
Do you think we're going to be able to work that out?
I really do. And I welcome everyone on this call to come to the People for Palmer Park annual meeting on Saturday morning. The city will be talking more about the band shell and trying to get input from the neighbors. It's from 10 in the morning till noon, and everybody can come. You can go to our website, peopleforpalmerpark.org, to get the link.
So I know I've got people from at least 3 different neighborhoods who, if Palmer Park doesn't want it, would like to have it in the park in their area, but Councilman McAllister has asked that Palmer Park get first shot. So if you and the neighbors want it, we're going to put it there. If you and the neighbors don't want it, we'll put it someplace else. And I think the question of how you can have, we're not looking at huge concerts there. We're looking to have something where people can enjoy music, but it doesn't disrupt the enjoyment of the park or the neighbors. So I think you're on a good track, and I hope people will come out Saturday and participate and express your opinion. All right, who's next?
Next caller we have is James B. James, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing today?
Good evening.
Good. Hi, my name is James Beasley, and I live in the University District. And I'm under the Dennis Arch administration. I'm a former chairman of the Detroit Cable Communication Commission for 5
Okay.
years. That's back when we had a commission in place to watch over broadband issues and those regulatory issues. Now, it was deconstructed under the Kilpatrick administration. And in the deconstruction, one of the things that was taken away was the public access. So what approaches do you have that will give the public access to Channel 10 or Channel 22, where we can have the equipment, the training, the studios to come in and to do the production, because we're still paying 5% for the franchise fee, which comes in there, but yet we don't have access, but in Southwest Oakland County does. I've got one follow-up question to that real quick.
Okay, I got to tell you, in 7 years, nobody has asked me for access. Does anybody here know the details on? When cable first came out, they used to stick ferns in every city, and you could come in and have like little community shows. We don't do that anymore. So you know what? If you give us your information, John Roach is going to find out the answer and call you tomorrow, because that's a new one on me. But I remember in the 80s and 90s when it used to exist. But I think it's been a long time. Conrad, do you remember? I do. But you don't know what happened to it? No. Okay. All right. You had another question?
Yes. My other question, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, my other question was dealing with the school system. I know there's separation of powers between the city of Detroit and Detroit Public Schools, but it's so closely related because Detroit only has a 15% reading proficiency rate, which is totally unacceptable. It's depressing the value of our houses within the city. And so we're paying an extraordinary tax. So my question to you is simple. Would you support a plan to close the education gap in Detroit within 10 years? Because right now, unless we have parameters around there, we're just spinning our wheels in a circle. And we've got approaches, and we need to have input. So as community leaders, so that we can have access to the table and have equity to solve this problem, which is killing us all.
Well, I was a plaintiff in the lawsuit, the literacy lawsuit against the state of Michigan, that resulted in $100 million being sent from the state down to literacy at DPS. And so I completely support that. The other thing I'm doing right now is I am fighting tooth and nail for funding in Lansing for full-day pre-K for 4-year-olds to give our kids a head start. And this is my 3rd year in a row going up there and fighting. And this time I think we're going to succeed. So I don't want to run the schools, but I want to be a really good partner. And so I will continue to join with them in every single initiative they have to improve literacy.
The next caller we have is Karen J. Karen, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Jones, and I'm in the Fitzgerald District. I have a couple of questions, so I'm going to try and squeeze them in for you real fast. I'm concerned about a hall that is down the street from me on Puritan and Griggs. I know that when they have gatherings there, it is way over the capacity.
Really?
There are.
Okay,
Yes.
so I want you offline to give us the address, because Denise Fair is sitting here and she's already taking notes, but the health department has been very aggressive on those situations. And
Okay, yeah,
usually we respond to citizen tips. I think we've got a line for citizens tips, don't we?
yes, very well. And then my other question is, who do we call about the abandoned cars? I did call the 12th precinct. They did give me a number, but that number just rang. This car has been sitting on the block for 4 years.
Okay, so Assistant Chief Stair is here, and she knows the answer to that.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am, or evening at this point, and thank you for your question. We absolutely have an abandoned task force vehicle. It's unfortunate that we haven't been able to assist you, but we certainly will. As an offline, if we could get the information, then we'll definitely follow up and make sure that it's taken care of.
All right, so the Assistant Chief is going to get the car towed. We're making some progress in Fitzgerald. All right, who's next?
Karen, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next, we have Jessica M. Jessica, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jessica Math. I live in Pilgrim Village neighborhood. I was just wondering, do you have any information when the home loan for the repairs will start back up? Because I'm in desperate need of a roof, and I don't have $20,000 at the moment. So I was trying to apply for the loan, or do you have any information about grants?
Donald Rensher does, and he's going to come right up and answer it.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for that question. We actually, you can go to our website. Our 0% interest program is up and running. We had a shortfall with some funding, but all the funding is there now. You can call in. You can call 313-224-6380 or go to our city website and go to the HRD, Housing Revitalization Department, and you can sign up and we can give you the direction of where you can go. Okay? Thank you.
So one of the things that's coming out of President Biden and the American Rescue Plan is more and more money for housing, whether it's eviction prevention, whether it's loans to fix up the house, whether it's foreclosure prevention, et cetera. But you can find all the information on the city website under the Housing Revitalization Department. It'll take you right to what you need.
Jessica, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Keenan B. Mr. Keenan, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, Mr. Mayor again. Yes, I was actually going to ask a similar question to the previous one. I'm also in Pilgrim Village as well. After my conversation with Ms. Tandy earlier today, I was informing her that the residents on our block, we have discussed putting together a block club to actually get access to some additional community things, grants. I had one neighbor that's been able to take advantage of the RAP program to get new plumbing, the lead abatement for another neighbor that had kids. But I did want to find out if there was any grant money available. A lot of our houses were built around 1923. I'm a third generation Detroiter. My grandparents had this house in 1940. My mom was born in the 50s and then me in the 80s. So that was one question, if there was any grant money that would be available, because whether it's a roof, you have one neighbor that needs a roof, another one that needs pipes, and things like that.
City Council just appropriated somewhere between $4 and $5 million for the upcoming fiscal year, but there are pretty significant restrictions as far as low income and needs. But that information is also on the site. I'd really encourage you, though, to form that block club, because what you're talking about is why the block clubs are so good. Somebody knows about the RAP program and explains to people how to keep their water on. Somebody else explains to somebody about the loan program. And of course, Kim Tandy and the team will come out to your block club. And this housing stuff is complicated. There are so many different potential sources of information. If you come together as a group, we'll come out and share all of them with you, and then you can share them with each other and other neighbors. So given the fact it's your second call, I hope you end up as president of your block club. Did you mute him, or was that a non-acceptance?
Next caller we have is
Hello.
Okay, so I was going to say, are you going to run?
Yes, yes.
All right, you
Yes,
got my endorsement. Keenan B.
I do. I do plan to lead it. And then my last question is about the auto insurance reform. Can we please sue the insurance industry? The changes that the
I already did.
take. Can we sue them again?
We won. What would you like us to do now?
So the way that they've put it is your health insurance has to pay first. I work for a pretty good company, and that's something that they don't cover, and that's where they keep trying to push me in order to save money. I'm not fully understanding. They say you're such a great driver, we're going to give you free car replacement, but your insurance is also going up. Like, it's like, well, wait a minute.
So what you are talking about is a significant issue, and I can talk about car insurance longer than anybody wants to hear. If you were in any one of 49 other states and you got in an accident, your employer health insurance would cover you. Because the no-fault law in Michigan for the last 40 years said the car insurance paid for it, companies in Michigan did insurance for employees that didn't cover it first. For every company we've talked to, and a whole lot of companies in this city have switched over in the last year, it is a minimal increase in the employer cost of health care. And I'd really encourage you to go to your employer, whether it's the HR person, whoever, just have them call their health insurance carrier, ask them what the difference would be if they covered car insurance accidents. It's going to be a few bucks extra for your employer. It's going to be $500 or $1,000 savings to you. And so you got to get your employees, if they'll just make that phone call, they'll be amazed how cheap it is for them to cover you. And that's really your only way to go.
the next caller we have is Gary H. Gary, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Gary Hannafy. I live in District 2, University District. I just had a question. I've seen on different city materials, you have an Office of Sustainability, correct?
Right.
And I just want to know what, I assume that's helping with renewable energy or cleaner energy sources. I was just wondering what the goals are for that office.
So I think if you go there, the entire plan is on our website. Joel Harani runs it. But for example, we are going through all of the buildings to make them energy efficient. There are recycling initiatives. There is a whole range of programs, but you'll find them on the website. But we formally adopted it with the endorsement of, I think, 15 different environmental groups about 18 months ago. And you can find all the details, I'm sure, of the plan on the website.
Next caller we have is the police commissioner. Police commissioner, you may unmute yourself.
The police commissioner.
You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Let me see if I've got this done. Okay. Hi, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for giving me District 2 this evening.
Okay, this is the District 2 Police Commissioner. I'm with you now. All right.
Linda, really quick question for you. I was raised on Lawton Street in Finkel, and I went to St. Gregory School on Dexter and Finkel for 12 years. And my question to you is, what can be done to help revitalize, if you will, the Finkel area, the Linden area? It's sort of forgotten about in terms of Northwest Detroit. And my second question to you is, what are you planning to do where the old St. Francis Home for Boys was? It's a great spot. And it could just be, a real energizer for that part of Detroit. If we could get, a company and some malls or something. It's just a beautiful spot. I used to go there all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah, I spent a fair amount of time in that gym. My son played AAU basketball over there on weekends, and you're right, a beautiful building in a neighborhood with a lot of potential. We're going to have conversations, and it was brought up by earlier callers, about the federal money that's coming and how do we spend it in a one-time way. And one of the things that I want to talk about is, do we invest in streetscapes? You're hearing from the folks in Fitzgerald. It is absolutely beautiful what's happening in McNichols, adjacent to that neighborhood. I think the Dexter-Linwood area in particular has got enormous potential. It's an area that I'd like to see us focus on. And so right now we're on Kercheval in a big way, Grand River in a big way, Bagley in a big way, Livernois in a big way. We're going to be at Warren shortly, both east and west, and I think Dexter ought to be next on the list. And if you want to participate in that, we'd love to have you.
I'd love to, Mr. Mayor, but also Finkel. I mean, Finkel was, it's 5 Mile in the suburbs. It's Finkel in Detroit.
I know where Finkel is.
Area. And that plot over there where St. Francis is, I don't know, what is it, like 70 or 80 acres?
Yeah, isn't that over by where the football field I'm trying to get is? By Loyola? Yeah. So the answer is, I've been over there a few times, and we have some potential, but I don't have anything that's definitive enough that I could tell you. All right, next question.
Next caller we have is Hazel F. Hazel F., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Evening.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan. How are you doing?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Just 2 quick questions. Regarding the speed humps, we had applied last year, got denied, applied again, and I'm in the Garden Homes area.
Okay.
And then I found out when I saw the list, they are going to put one on San Juan, but just that first block right off of 8 Mile in Norfolk. And the reason was they were saying they received more points. But there's 2 other blocks that we have problems with because it's only 3 blocks, to Pembroke. And I was just trying to figure out why, although I don't want to believe this is the reason. The new business opened up on the corner. It's called Jars Cannabis. I don't know if that's the reason why they got more points, but it's not fair to the rest of us.
Our DPW guys in their office with their algorithms have no idea what business is in a particular building. So what they did was run an algorithm that was the number of accidents, number of speeding tickets, number of children in the area, and neighborhood requests, and picked 4,500 off of that mix. And so I doubt Ron knows offhand why one block was picked over another, but I know those were the metrics that were selected. And I do expect us to come back next year, assuming that when we add 4,500 more people in the city are still behind this. I expect us to come back next year and do another large number. But the reason would have had to do with those calculations.
All right, Hazel, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next up we have is Karen H. Karen H., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Karen Hammer. I am District 2 resident for 35 years, and I live in Green Acre Woodward. And I have 2 questions.
Go ahead.
The first is regarding the purchase agreement for the fairgrounds. We have requested a copy and still would like a copy of it. It's not posted on the website, and we'd like to get that.
Okay, it's a public document that was approved by City Council, so I don't know how it cannot be on the website, but Lawrence Garcia is sitting here, he'll send it to you.
It's not.
Okay.
So if you could do that, that'd be great, so that we all can look at it. My second question is, since there is an infrastructure initiative from the federal government, one-time expenditure, it seems to me that retrofitting homes and public buildings for energy efficiency is a good bang for the buck, because people will not have to pay such high energy bills. And I want to find out what is the program for residents' energy efficiency as well as.
So do we have, Don, we got a weatherization program now, don't we? So your question is a good one, and so I'm going to have Donald Wrencher tell you what the weatherization program is now. But in May, we are going to have exactly this conversation. We're going to make a decision as a community where we want this money to go. And the thing that you're raising right here is exactly the conversation we should have. But even before we get to that, Donald, if somebody wants to get their home weatherized, what do they do?
So I appreciate the question. We work a lot with Wayne Metro. Wayne Metro has money for weatherization grants. I would ask that you go to their website and work with them to receive a grant allocation for the weatherization grant. So that's what we work with. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Ms. Karen, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Darnetta B. Darnetta B, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Okay, the second part of my question that was, I was cut off. I just want to know about advanced disposal. Why do we continue to contract with them after the multiple complaints that are continuously compiling with their lack of work or, their lack of doing the work in our communities?
So anytime that they are in violation, DPW reaches out to them directly and asks for an immediate correction. There was a point a couple of years ago where they weren't correcting, and I sent them a notice requiring them to cure or they'd be terminated. Their performance improved dramatically. And so if there's a place of persistent non-performance, we just need to know that because we have a right under the contract to enforce it.
Right, the next caller we have is Sandra W. Sandra, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. This is Sandra Walker.
Good evening.
Good evening. I live in District 2, the University District. I also happen to work for DESC.
Okay.
My question is...
You like your job?
I have a school... I do.
Oh, good.
I like our
Okay.
work and
Because Nicole's sitting here. She just wanted to know. All right, go ahead.
I love Nicole. She's awesome. The sewer line in my backyard, I've had my basement flood twice in the past couple of months. And I had a guy come out, fix it, snake it, clean out the basement. And each time he told me to send a note over to the city, and I did. Because
is Gary Brown here? Gary's been sitting quietly in the back, and he was hoping that somebody would ask a question. Gary Brown is going to solve this for you.
Thank you.
I've lived in District 2 for about 50 years, so I make sure that I try to take care of everybody in District 2. So if I could get your address, we will send a crew out tomorrow. It sounds like you have a sewer problem. The sewer is out in the alley. Is that what you've been told? Yeah.
Yes, and I just keep getting a form. When I call in, I get a form in the mail.
We'll get somebody out to take a look. We have 32,000 fix-it letters that have gone out to residents, and we are desperately trying to find some funding to make sure that we can help those residents get the issue fixed. But if it's a safety issue, we'll get it fixed right away. But we're looking for funding to be able to do it.
Okay, and I have one more comment, if I may, before he moves me.
Is it for Gary or is it for me?
For you. I went to the TCF Center and I got both of my shots, and I just wanted to commend you as our mayor and everybody who is over there. Anybody who knows me knows I am not a emotional person, but sitting in my car getting that first shot, I was almost brought to tears just by the customer service, the vast number of workers who were there taking care of us as Detroiters, the speed and ease and care that I felt coming in to get my vaccination, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, Hakeem Berry and that team have done a remarkable job, and you're right. I mean, I know when I got the shot, and almost everybody I know, you don't realize how much stress you were under worrying about COVID until you've been vaccinated. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm really proud of that whole group over there. All right, next question.
Sandra, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next person we have is James W. Mr. James, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Mayor Duggan, for taking my question. My name is James Williams from District 2. First, I want to join the chorus of praise for the wonderful job that our District 2 manager, Kim Tandy, is doing. She's really a jewel among the staff. My question is regarding the purchase of side lots.
Nobody's happy about Sean. That's what he's saying right now. Go ahead. All right.
Well, I'm sure he has a part in this as well.
Go ahead. You asked about side lots.
Yeah, I would like to get the office number of the executive director of the land bank department.
She's right here. What do you want to ask her? Saskia Tops is here if you'd like to talk to her.
Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
I've tried several times to reach her regarding the difficulties and issues surrounding the purchase of side lots. And with respect to her, okay, I'd like to give her an opportunity to address some of my concerns and promote some suggestions. I don't want to do that publicly right now.
Okay, well, you are kinder than a lot of residents, so I know Saskia is going to call you tomorrow. So if you give us your name and number, you'll hear from her tomorrow. I got to tell you, she has done a remarkable job at turning around the response on the reuse of that property. I know she's sincerely going to be interested in your thoughts, so thank you.
James, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is the number ending in 481. Number ending in 481. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Okay, we're probably going to run about 10 minutes over. I'm going to see if I can get through all of these calls. So hang in there if you're already got your hand raised. Good evening.
481.
We're looking for whose phone number ends in 481. You're up.
Next caller we have is Mr. Ruben C. Mr. Ruben C., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening. Okay. Okay, we might want to move on. I think we got somebody's private conversation here.
It's like you don't want to hear what I'm about to say.
Go ahead.
You need to hear that. You need to hear that first.
Okay.
Boy, the police commissioner, the stuff he's doing to the commissioners on television, on the virtual meetings, he's doing to the citizens. And he's...
Okay.
Mr. Rubin, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is number ending in 111. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. Number 111.
Your phone number ends in 111. You're up. All right. How many we got left here? Okay, go ahead.
Next caller is number ending in 604. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. 604.
Boy, we were doing so well all night.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm glad we got you.
Good evening. My name is Francine, and this is my first time caller. I'm in the Osborne district.
Okay.
East 7 Mile. And I have a question, and I've been in the city over 20 years, and I'm adamant about staying in the city, but I was wondering if there's any programs available for homeowners that would like to stay in the city and would like to fix up their current residence.
We mentioned this before. There is a limited amount of money for people of very low income that you can find on the city website, DetroitMI.gov, under the housing section.
Okay.
All right, and thank you for letting the folks in District 2 go first. It's very courteous.
Next caller we have is Patricia L. Patricia L., you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good.
My question is, what is the city doing about these vacant homes that are purchased by investors that then hire property management companies that do nothing with them, and the trash just piles up? We've got 2 on my block. I'm in College Park.
Okay, we sick Dave Bell on them. So Dave, come on up.
Hi, Patricia. We are definitely going to get somebody out there. We're going to get your name and number and get the information on these properties. Just because they hire a property manager doesn't give them the permission to violate the code, and we're going to make sure that we hold them accountable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who's next?
Patricia, you'll be moved over to our information room. Next caller we have is Lori Ann S. Lori Ann, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor. I was just thinking about that ban shell in Palmer Park and the restrictions that we may run into for parking. If we were to build a pedestrian bridge across Woodward and perhaps use some of those empty lots over there and make them parking for the ban shell events, that's just a thought I had.
Okay, well, you should come out, it sounds like, on Saturday morning to Barbara's group. I'm not sure what money there might be on a pedestrian bridge, but these are the kinds of conversations we should be having, so I hope you'll join it.
Oh, I intend on it, but I also have an event with the councilman, but I will try to be multitasking.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Again, caller 481, you may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. 481.
Okay, thank you. I'm unmuted. My name is Linda Jones. I'm from the Ardmore Finkel Block Club. I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor, and to Kim Tandy. I wish I had the reporter that Fitzgerald and Palmer Woods had with you, but I don't. But my question is, I received the flyer on my text that DPW will and may give out tickets for those who don't pull in their garbage cans.
Right.
And leave their debris out on the street.
Right.
But they didn't, if a neighbor or if a resident wanted to complain about it, what number would they call to inform someone?
Which number do we use, Kim? When people, if your neighbor leaves their Corval out too many days, what number do we use? Okay, so you don't happen to have the Improved Detroit app on your phone, do you?
I have it on there, but I have such difficulty learning how to use it. I only use it if my grandson comes over and kind of assists me.
So if your grandson's there, he can report it. If he's not, what number are we using, Dave? Okay, so if you call 313-224-3252, and we are pretty diligent about this. The first time they'll come out and give you a warning, and the second time is a $50 fine. So when you get the sticker that first time, the great majority of people then follow the rules. I've heard from a few who got the $50, but once a neighbor has complained and you've been given a warning, at some point you have a responsibility to your neighbors. So we will follow up.
Okay. And about the broken sidewalks, now, I have seen the city repair broken sidewalks for blocks that don't even have a house on it. And they had one house on it. So as far as the homeowner being responsible for the...
Yeah, you say you've seen a place where they repair the sidewalk.
Yes, and there was only...
So I can tell you...
There was only one house on that block.
Right, I can tell you with 95% certainty why that is. When we were running the federal demolition program, the state of Michigan imposed on us a requirement to fix side lots where we demolished, even if nothing else was around. And so we were ordered by the state to go in a number of those cases. I've seen it, and I get angry to say, why in the middle of this do we replace a sidewalk? But it was a requirement for the funding. But that is now over, and that is not happening anymore.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to stay on the good side of the feds.
Caller 481, you may move over to our information room.
All right, who's next?
Next, again, caller 111. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. Caller 111. Next caller is number ending in 604. You may unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to ask your question. 604. There are no more questions.
We're done? All right, well, thank you all very much. And when's the next meeting, John? Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, District 3. So, and for everybody who let the District 2 folks go first, thank you for that courtesy. It worked out really well. Have a good evening.